Have you ever had a game series that just held a special place in your heart? For me, one of those series is Mario and Luigi, because like with all the other Mario RPGs, it gives us so much personality, so many fun game mechanics, and gives us some of the best stories out of the Mario universe. You can really make the argument as this being one of the best out of any of the side series of games.
Well, that's kind of a bold claim to make. Those other series gave us some memorable characters, unique art styles, and some pretty damn good stories. I mean, what even sets it apart from the others?
Well, it did follow up Paper Mario and did take inspiration from this series, but you wouldn't really see that on a surface level, because everything from the art style to the gameplay to the dialogue to the story to the music even just feels super unique. Imagine being a kid that was only subjected to the platformers, both 2D and 3D, and loving what you had but still wishing there was a lot more. And then one day on a trip to a game store that violated all the regulations for selling games, holy shit, you see on that shelf far off into the distance a DS game titled Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
I mean, I was a big fan of movies like Back to the Future, so to see Mario travel through time was the coolest thing since sliced bread for me. It was the first time that I realized that Mario had some sub-series.
For as much as there's new characters, wacky designs, and enemies that would never come close to appearing in a mainline game, the setting and characters that filled these games always felt like they belonged in the Mario universe. Superstar Saga is by far the most unique with its designs, because almost every enemy in the game is super original and clearly inspired by enemies and characters from the Mario mythos. Universe? Is that the same thing?
But even if the characters are not based on actual Mario characters, I mean, just look at them. They fit right in. And speaking of those characters, this was probably the first time we got to explore outside of the Mushroom Kingdom into somewhere completely new.
You do walk around a bit in the opening, but once you set off, you cross the border and are wandering around Bean Kingdom, a place so full of life you almost forget the massacre that just happened. Just walk it off, man. Stop being so dramatic. We hop out the Queen, meet Prince Peasley, who Luigi definitely has a thing for, and stop Cacaletta from using the Beanstar to rule the world.
And it was all done on a device that had a piss-poor screen and probably the worst version of Sonic 1. But when it came time for a sequel on new hardware, well, it was clear that some things had to change.
So now we're in the Mushroom Kingdom, but like I said before, we're going 88 and seeing some serious Mario and Luigi Partners in Time is criminally underrated.
You're telling me time-traveling aliens isn't cool as shit?
You have the brothers working with their younger selves. You have Bowser kind of taking a backseat to the whole story. You have a twist at the end that is great and will catch any 8-year-old off guard.
There's stakes, there's suspense, there's a really wonderful story all from a mustachioed man that only ever says, Yahoo! But where else could you go from here? 4 playable characters and a story that is really hard to beat.
I mean, like, what else could they do? Give us one of the best Mario adventures that has still yet to be topped. While I might like Partners in Time more because of how special it is to me, Bowser's inside story is peak Mario and Luigi. You get to play as Bowser, and he's practically a main character here. Fawful returns from Superstar Saga as the main villain, and overall, this game has the best art style in the series to this date.
Okay, that's cool and all, but what exactly made these games so special? I'm a negative Nancy, so for me to talk about these games in such high praise means they really did do something right.
Well, for one, they treat the brothers equally.
Stand up if you're a Luigi fan. I see you in the back. These games f***ing rock if you love them as much as I do.
Superstar Saga has the ability to have Luigi lead the two, and it's refreshing to see because other Mario stories make him the butt of the joke, or even just put him to the side outright. To be able to see him fight alongside Mario and take initiative, and even at points go off on his own to help Mario, ready to fight when he's needed, overcoming his fears and anxiety, it's just so cool to see.
Hey, listen, man, while you did take all my money from the casino, I'm still proud of your character development, but also, give me back my money, you blackjack tuxedo wearing gremlin!
Every game kind of gives Luigi his own big moment, and it's funny because everyone in the world kind of is disrespectful to him. The writing in general is also consistently excellent throughout the series. While stories can deal with serious issues and have ridiculous amount of stakes, there's also a lot of lighthearted comedy. The games always knew how to balance this out.
Just like how I balance out my anger management issues with some extremely healthy habits. For example, instead of beating up Luigi, I will instead scream obscenities at him. I didn't even say anything yet!
It fits right at home, and the brothers stay as silent protagonists, leading to some of the greatest dialogue from them. I showed this once to my Italian grandmother and asked her what it meant. Needless to say, she stopped showing up to Sunday dinner. But Mario was never quite known for the story. It's always about fun ways to play the game, and this series gives us a plate of good shit.
Oh, wow. I mean, you see, I'm flattered, but like, you see, I ate yesterday and I'm all right for now, so I really don't need to eat. Oh, wait.
These games give just as much attention to the overworld as it does the in-game battles. You come across various different puzzles to solve and mini-games to play, and the more abilities you unlock throughout the game, the more pathways open up. Superstar Saga did a great job of showing you potential future areas you would explore after you got the right ability. Partners in Time would also build off your moveset for getting into the next time hole. Bowser's Inside Story gave us the best of both worlds, and it is the strongest gameplay-wise.
But exploring the world isn't the only thing you can do, as there are also enemies to fight. And let me tell you, this game taught me a thing or two about fighting. Eat spin attack, bitch!
Battles in this game are very fun. While you are strategizing a bit, it's not like Persona 5 or Final Fantasy where your next move can determine the fate of your existence. However, the battles are action command-based, meaning you need to be on your toes and get the timing right, and this part is so fun, goddammit. I especially like the bros attack and how each game varies on what you can do, but they're all fun and have personalities that challenge your timing. Superstar Saga did it the best though, where the moves you learned in the overworld to solve puzzles correlated to attacks in battle, and it made things feel a lot more connected.
It's like the reason this game stands on its own. But notice how I'm only mentioning 3 out of the 7 games within the series. Well, that's for a good reason.
So Bowser's Inside Story is regarded as one of the best in the series. Great top-notch gameplay. Basically, it was the best direction the series could take. So when it came time for a 4th game, it's clear that things needed to be switched up, and what better way to do that than on a new console? But where do I begin with you?
I don't know, maybe the start of the game, you know, like the beginning, where you typically start the game?
The beginning of the game is so slow! It took me over an hour for me to get to the meat of the game. Are you out of your tiny pre-brain mind? For instance, other games within the series had really good pacing throughout the beginning. Superstar Saga, you are on that bridge really fast. Partners in Time, sure, it takes a bit, but the opening keeps things fresh enough to make it feel not as long. Bowser's Inside Story, you are inside Bowser before you are even allowed to see outside the castle. Dream Team? 40 minutes in, our companion is just introduced and is dilly-dallying. Also, I swear to God, if I see one comment about that voice crack.
Whoa, okay, so it's a slow start, sure, but come on, they're coming off of one of their big titles, one of their better titles even. There's gotta be some way the game makes up for the slow pace, right? Quick, say a line that contradicts myself.
This game is boring.
Underwhelming, but I guess that works.
There's something about this game that feels so corporate. From the music to the dialogue to the obnoxious hand-holding for every little thing. Battles take forever to complete. I don't feel like I'm underleveled, but normal enemies eat damage like it's nothing. One of the first boss battles takes a whole eternity, and the gimmicks are reused from previous games.
Hey, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For instance, spin attack, motherfucker!
This game feels like it takes so long to complete. I felt as if an hour in, I wasn't seeing the sweaty, slimy Mario mayhem I'm used to from the series. Sure, you can argue that other games had that issue as well, but there's a difference in pacing with each one. Yes, why wouldn't I want to know the whole lore of this island before any villain appears? My favorite part in Superstar Saga was the whole history lecture and state exam I had to pass before Peach's voice was stolen. Couple that with locations that aren't easy on the eyes makes this out to be pretty dull. This is something I know a lot of people won't agree with me on, but the game's art style is the weakest out of the series. The sprite work is interesting, and I have no doubt that in a different game they would look great, but the lack of outlines and the need to give large amount of shading to every part of each character, again, makes this feel very corporate.
Now what if for this game we did something a little bit crazy? We get rid of all the personality.
Oh my god. It's like you knew this would be the future of the Mario franchise.
However, I can amend the effort as the animations are so fluid in this game, and while battles can take forever, there are new ideas that make these battles feel much more involved than in previous games. But battles, again, take forever to complete. Each one has an abundance of enemies, and overall just slugging on and 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 on. The bros attacks in this game are also just very weird. I definitely think the first game got it right in using your traversal methods in battle, like I mentioned before. Finding puzzle pieces for attacks does incentivize exploration, but half the time the attacks have nothing to do with Mario.
Okay, but to be fair, it was like this in Bowser's Inside Story, but the difference with there is that it was more new and exciting at the time. In this game, it's kind of the same thing done again, but a bit worse.
For the idea of exploring a dream world where anything is possible, making it limited to 2D makes things feel unironically really flat. Locations don't have much art design outside being a sort of 2D version of what's in the overworld. With Bowser's Inside Story, at least the 2D gameplay was more fresh. It was new for the series and had various locations in Bowser's stomach. It's something we haven't seen before.
The dream world does try though, and I can give it that. Sure, you might have done absolute dog shit on the state test, but it's okay. We'll throw you 1 point for giving it at least a decent try.
This game does have a new gimmick of messing with Luigi in the real world to affect the dream world, and it's pretty fun when done right. The problem is that it's not done enough. Going back to my old save file, I saw almost 0 times Luigi was used on the bottom screen. We also get abilities that utilize a bunch of Luigis, like a spin jump, a super jump, and a ball. I like the ball. It's all a great concept, but I feel like there could have been a better execution here. Battles in the Dream World only involve Mario with the power of Luigi, and this just aids to the problem of battles just taking so long, as the Dream World has a lot of enemies in one battle space.
You might be 1 billion lions, but I have the power of an Italian plumber on my side. Yeah, that went as expected.
Look, I spent a lot of time with this game, but only because it seemed like it was going to be in line with other games in the series. However, the more I was playing it, the more I was like, when will this wow me like other games in the series? And it kind of never did. It wouldn't be that big of a deal to me if it was like kind of a one-off thing, but sadly, this thing exists. And I never bought it. The trailers just had a hard time selling me on this idea. A really cool idea, mind you, of a crossover between 2 of the best Mario RPG series. But nothing super stellar or crazy was popping out. Things from Dream Team seemed to be coming back, and there started to be this weird formula in the mix.
With each game, there was an evolution within its art style, being different between each one, but not sticking out all too much. And then Dream Team gave us a whole new art style that I know a lot of people love, but for me, I just don't think it represents the series all that well. And then they just copied and pasted for the next few games. Look at this.
The personality just seemed to be so distant from the series. Dream Team felt very corporate, but this game was like new Super Mario Brothers of Mario RPGs. And how do you do that? For 2 series known for interesting enemy designs and fun, engaging battles, why would you just use basic vanilla Mario characters? Sticker Star's curse has now affected the Mario and Luigi series, and it's put me in financial debt.
I paid a small group of people to burn every copy of this game. Needless to say, they spent it all on milk. Don't know why, don't know where it is. I'm realizing they just took the money and ran.
I mean, there's not much else to say. There were things about Dream Team that I and many others found appealing, and while I might find it boring, it's more so because of the pacing and art style. I would still consider the game a great game, it's just not really for me. But Paper Jam. There is just nothing to say. It's so basic, it feels so normie. It's really boring, and people tend to agree. This is the only game to get below an 80 on Metacritic.
And there's nothing more trustworthy than Metacritic. I use that place to read my horoscopes, it's that good. But Alpha Dream knew they kind of f***ed up and realized that in order to bring the series forward, well, they had to take a step back.
As someone who can never be sold on Paper Jam, when it was leaked that a remake of Superstar Saga was in the making, I got excited. I love this game. It holds up so well, and I always thought that Alpha Dream could take more inspiration from here rather than here. And imagine my surprise when one faithful Nintendo Direct, we got our first trailer for it, and it used the stupid Dream Team art style!
Tom, why do you care about an art style so much? Because it won't go away!
I also didn't buy this one. The trailers just made the game feel like the charm and personality of the original was gone. To be fair, I really would have picked it up if I saw it out in the open, but I just didn't. I did, however, get the next one. I fucking hate this game.
Wow, shocker. I don't like something. In other news, the sky is blue, I'm a dude, and this year will be the 9th anniversary of Magic's Rude.
Everything I was scared about for Superstar Saga happened with Bowser's Inside Story. Devoted of the original's personality and charm, nerfed gameplay for whatever reason, and a side mode that basically amounts to nothing. This shit is as fun as watching yourself age in the mirror. It's kind of just there. It's supposed to tell the story of what Bowser's minions are doing during the whole event of the game, but really, is this who we want to focus on? Not Princess Peach, not Toadsworth, hell, even Yoshi? Nobody cares about Bowser's minions, and we didn't need them taking the seat of the main characters.
The funny part is that nobody wanted this. People were asking more about where the Partners in Time remake went, and it became very clear and obvious that Alpha Dream only did this because, well, they were having financial issues.
It's sad because no one really bought this game. No one was interested in a remake of Bowser's Inside Story, and it ultimately led to the company going defunct. If we're gonna be honest, when the only game you're developing is a series based around a popular franchise, it becomes really hard to innovate on that same formula for each new title, and it doesn't really help that it was during a time where more people wanted games for the Switch, and they opted to release a game on a handheld that everyone was sick and tired of. We were 2 years into the Switch's life, so imagine the pain it was seeing the series doomed to be on a handheld that would just get discontinued a year later.
People look at it a bit more fondly now, but back then, everyone was just kind of disappointed when more games were coming out for this thing. It had a long life, a life that was filled with many great titles, and a fun game mechanic that no one really tried to replicate. But I still think that this series and Alpha Dream could have still survived today if they just didn't get rid of what made these games so special.
As the mainline titles got more and more corporate, devoting Mario of any real character, these games not only gave him one, but every single single different type of person in the game, some kind of witty character. And each game was given its own identity outside of the mainline games. Heck, even within its own series, no two games looked alike. But after the fourth game, it lost sight of all of that and became Alpha Dream's only way of staying financially stable. And while I'd like to think that they tried when remaking Bowser's Inside Story, I think they forgot that people didn't want this to be remade. They wanted new ideas and a story that would put the bros in serious situations, figuring out how to get out of them, even if they never intended on getting into them in the first place.
I really do miss this series. I mean, yeah, I did rag on it at the end, but still, it's something that's really hard to fall out in love with, especially since it was so close to my childhood. While the series was for handheld systems, let's be honest, they felt like full-fledged titles that could work on console. I totally think that this series could return again, and even take the crown as one of the best Mario RPGs on the market, but let's be fair, it's probably best that they laid this whole thing to rest, especially since they got rid of Luigi striped socks!
Bring back the socks, or go suck a cock.